Thank you, Karishni. Good afternoon, ladies. I'm very much aware that we are really keeping you between, it's ourselves and between your families, and so I'm not going to keep you too long. Looking at the issue of women leading in a fast-changing 21st century, I thought I'd just make a few observations that I found quite peculiar in most instances, but quite interesting. I suppose to start off with, the one thing that you cannot dispute is the proportion of change, the seismic changes that we've been seeing. The rate of change has just been so fast that you can hardly get a grapple on it. I mean, if you look at the telecommunications sector, to roll out just 1 million fixed lines took 7 decades. And yet, to have 40 million mobile phones took just 1.5 decades. And so you can see that the rate of change is just so fast that it's no longer about how fast you can run, but how fast you can run in comparison to your peers and those around you. And I thought I'd look at just the area of communication. I mean, certainly you know that you are living in a 21st century world and leading in a 21st century world when you have a list of 15 numbers just to reach a family of 3. You email a joke to your colleague who's seated right next to you. You chat several times to someone that is living in Indonesia, and yet you've never even met your own neighbor, that's in a neighborhood you've been living in for maybe 10 years. Your grandmother is clogging up your email inbox, asking you to send her a JPEG file of your newborn baby so she can create a screensaver. As you pull up in your own driveway, you already start to send an SMS on your cell phone to check if anyone is home. Your reason for not staying in touch with some of your family members is that they don't have email addresses. I mean, how hard is this for us just to interface on a human level? What has happened to the issue of just being able to connect with each other on a human level? And so certainly we know that there has been a significant paradigm shift in terms of communication, given all the choices that we have in terms of voice, text, and all various means of communication. But is it really appropriate for us to only rely on these means of communication? Are we not losing that ability to interact with each other on a human level? I mean, you see how people will send emails to each other about a conflict issue when all they had to do was just to take a few steps to walk over to that person and talk to them. And so with all of the time that we're spending on cyberspace, we have the speed dating, we have people breaking up on the internet, people making up on the internet, and we need to really just be making sure that we're looking at how we can balance this, because yes, we need to be progressing in terms of communication, but we certainly cannot lose that important ability to just interact on a human level as well. I thought also I'd just make an observation on just the dynamics that we've been seeing in terms of the population of women globally. And we know that certainly in 1950, the labor force participation by women was sitting at 33.9%. Well, why don't we have a look, and I'm going to ask that we play this video clip, have a look at the peculiar way in which women were viewed during that period in the 1950s. Could you just play that? Workforce. This had a significant impact on the dynamics of economies around the world. If we look at the USA alone, women control half of the wealth. Forbes magazine said in 2008 that there was 16 more than in 2007 women that were billionaires. And in 2008, therefore, there was now 99 female billionaires. And 10 of them were self-made. And we know some of these women entrepreneurs who have become billionaires, such as J.K. Rowling, Oprah Winfrey, Zhang Xin, who's the property developer in China, and others. And so certainly there has been a significant shift. And yet, notwithstanding this, we know that this has been very much a silent revolution, because you would think that companies would be positioning themselves, businesses, and all sorts of entities in society would be positioning themselves to be able to service and provide products that would be appealing to this increasing workforce of women. And still, there is silence around this, notwithstanding this undeniable emerging market that represents